everybody, I've been wanting to talk about Kanye and culture because that's kind of a hot topic right now.
Oh, well, people need to be awake and they need to be awake and they need to be aware and they need to stand up against the sun. Oh, well.
Why is Kanye and culture a hot topic right now? So, Wednesday, the 23rd of October, I want to say. It was a Wednesday, late in October anyway. I had kind of heard that Kanye had an album dropping, but I wasn't paying too much attention to it because he had the blow up with Candace Owens, which good for him because she's a grifter. But anyway, so I mean, I was like, oh, he's not a political conservative. I kind anymore, so I wasn't really had kind of stopped following him, and then I was interested a little, like I had heard a little bit that he had converted to Christianity, so I sort of figured with that he might be back to like a politically conservative mindset. And there was a clip that leaked out from his Sunday services, but I still wasn't following it that closely. And then, as I mentioned, hashtag Pippin was trending in early September, so now I am following his sons and him on Instagram and Twitter. One of them is on Twitter, and there's another account that might be one of them that doesn't tweet. But anyway, so his son, who's 17 and a junior in high school, put out an Instagram story that indicating that he and 3 of his friends had gone to this event that happened in LA. It was Wednesday right before he dropped the album. And so the Instagram story was like they zoomed in on Jesus is King, zoomed back out, and then zoomed in on Kanye West. And I was like, huh, I guess, this album that I had been hearing about is dropping, and this is what it's called. And, and then the next day, the Instagram story was a review of the song Water, which apparently Preston Pippin likes. Especially the middle part where he raps out the verses. He put like a timestamp, and I was like, okay. So then I went and I listened to the album as a result. And then I started seeing right after I was hearing about the album on Preston Pippin's Instagram account, then I started seeing all the conservatives put out information about it. And so here I am. So obviously at this point I'm kind of late to the game actually. I've had a chance to review the album, and so let's get into it a little bit. So I have a playlist. This is not his songs, but rather like interviews or from a cultural perspective. This is from a year ago when CNN attacked him when he went to the White House. And then he recently did an interview with this guy Zane something, let's say. No, some guy Zane from Apple Music. And their channel is called Beats One. So he sat down with him, and it's in the playlist. I actually watched the Zane interview before I watched the Big Boy interview, and it does seem like he did the interview with this guy Zane before he did the one with Big Boy. I say that because during the interview that he did with Zane, the one up here, there were a lot of times where he kind of stopped, and he was like a little bit, not like slow to answer, but I guess, a little bit slower, like very more thoughtful. And like at one point in that interview, he says, hang on, I'm thinking of a word, or I'm thinking of a phrase, and he's like, Christian innovator, that's what I am. But then in the Big Boy interview, he was like, I'm a Christian I can't talk. I'm a Christian innovator. So it seems like some of the thoughtful responses that he had really like influenced him, because it seems like in the Big Boy interview he was coming out with similar responses, but he was coming out with them quicker. So it was like his interview was thinking back, let's see, 24th.
Like, man, he just like this.
Okay, so they were released 24th and 25th, but you don't know if they shelved one of the interviews for a couple days or whatever. One thing that's interesting is in the Big Boy interview, you can see they're kind of like facing the camera and then kind of facing each other a little. So that made for... I got a little bit of an awkward vibe from that. I don't know if other people will get that vibe from the interview, but I did. Maybe I just ruined the interview for you if you haven't watched it yet. Whereas in the Zane
interaction
interview,
I've had with Jack Dorsey,
they're facing each other more. I don't know if there's... Oh, there we go. Yeah. So here, and I'm guessing the interview with Big Boy, because Big Boy is in the LA area, I'm guessing that interview was done in LA, and this interview with this Zane guy, and I think that it was probably shelved a little bit, because this one was done out in Wyoming. If you don't already know this, Kanye has, I think like 1,500 or 2,000 acres of... He wanted at least 1,000 acres. He talks about that in the interview. He bought a ranch that was over 1,000 acres out in Wyoming. So that's one of the things where social conservatism and conservative ideas come out in the interview, because he's talking about how he thinks people should buy land instead of like name brand trinkets and stuff like that. Both of the interviewers were politically left. Politics kind of leaked into both interviews. I would say Zane was surprisingly more cool with Kanye's right-wing stance, even though Zane was pretty upfront about it. I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, he's a leftist. I can just tell by looking at him. Not just because he's in the music industry. I'm like, I just know this guy's a leftist. And then at some point in the interview, he starts talking about Greta Thunberg in a positive way, who, if you don't know, maybe you ended up on my channel not because you're a politics person, but maybe you're looking for a chat about Kanye and you were like, oh, that's an interesting thumbnail with the Chicken of Liberty on it. But anyway, or I do comment on basketball videos, so maybe you ended up here that way somehow. I don't know. In which case you're not a political person. Anyway, Greta Thunberg is this like climate activist, and conservatives are generally against climate activism because while we believe in climate change, we don't think that spending $93 trillion to influence the climate in the tune of like a degree or two seems like a very good investment. We don't think that's a good investment. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. I want to talk about his social conservatism. I guess I have been talking about it. So he mentions like political conservatism and social conservatism here and there throughout the interview, more social than political. So I guess I'm happy about that. I mean, you also see it in the lyrics. Wait, where is it? Here. Here's something very enclosed on Sunday. Very well, I guess it's we use the word indoctrination a lot on the political right. But I guess it's also valid when it comes to like Christianity and conservatism that way. But don't, watch out for vipers, don't let them indoctrinate. So and just the family values. You don't have to be Christian to have some of these values, like, taking time to spend with your family, and, not taking selfies and putting your Instagram, I'm sure you realize, put the gram away, put Instagram away, get your family, even an atheist who's who's socially conservative would be down with, like, having specific time to spend with their family instead of, always, like, go and having the family separated. And I want to get into, this isn't really a reaction to the social conservatism, but I thought I would pull up his Social Blade. So this is the Social Blade that he released the music on. Oh, is this new? I think this is another, I think something else was here the last time I was on this page. So, alright, so, yeah. This is, okay. So the day that they had that event in something, LA area, forgive me, I can't remember the town. It was a suburb of LA, or part of LA. But anyway, in the LA area, he had that event at the Forum. And that was on Wednesday night that I just mentioned that I found out about initially, because I saw it on the Instagram story. So you see, in anticipation of that, people were starting to follow him so that they would see it when it drops, because you see that, he doesn't have, and then he, like, kind of passes the mark. I'm guessing that was, fans who hadn't thought to follow him, that were following him in anticipation of he's going to drop this album. And then he drops the actual album, I think, Friday morning. So, yeah, I saw the story on Thursday. Event was Friday, saw the story on Thursday. Then Friday, I saw the review of the song Water, and that's when I realized it had dropped. And you see, that's the day that it dropped, and he gained 20,000 followers. Now, because of changes that YouTube made, Social Blade they don't get the more accurate numbers like they used to. So anyway, so they have 20,000, so it was enough to pass the 20,000 mark, but that means people were still, like, subbing these days. It just means they'll only get enough to push through a change on Social Blade if it jumps to the next 10,000 in either direction. For him, because he's in the millions. For me, I think it's like every 10 followers, I think my stats change. So, or subscriber, I guess they're called. So this is when he dropped it, and you see people started subscribing to him on YouTube, and then it's been slowing down, but you can see that a lot of people subbing, then it goes down a teeny bit, and then subbing, and it's going down. So, this is his Vivo channel. He didn't pick up anything here, but that's not the channel where he released the music. So, you see, he actually went down on that channel. I'm not sure what the difference is between Vivo and regular. I guess it's through some partnership with someone. Anyway, so this is looking at the statistics for his Twitter account. He was actually losing followers. And then He's about to drop, gain some followers, losing. Twitter was probably taking them away too, but he still wasn't gaining enough to overcome what they were probably doing to him. And then this is the day of that event at the forum. So he gained some people before. That's when people were probably hearing, oh, he's got something coming out. And more people were hearing, and more people were hearing. And then he drops Friday morning, and look, he got 20,000 followers. You know, pretty in line with what he was gaining in YouTube subscriptions, what he was gaining in followers on Twitter. So maybe a lot of the same people were following, subbing on both platforms, especially since the numbers seem to kind of echo each other a little bit. I think he gained more subs on YouTube, but anyway, that's his follower numbers, and you can see he's still gaining followers. Everyone go follow Kanye. Oops, not that. Too much stuff open. Yeah. So, anyway, yeah, so I'm just gonna close out and mention, like, so it's been really great to see him talk about, like, being pro-family, and one thing that was kind of a conservative thought that people wouldn't know is, like, he's saying people should be trying to own land instead of name brand items. That's kind of like, you know, being more purposeful with how you spend your money. That's a conservative concept that people don't really think about that much. Like, I don't know. So I noticed that, I definitely recommend. I liked the interview with the Zane guy better, even though it was a much longer interview. I liked that interview much better. The Big Boy interview was faster, but I don't know. Like I said, for me, I personally found it felt like he didn't have the same rapport with Big Boy that he had with the Zane guy. So maybe it's just me, and maybe I've just ruined the interviews for you if you haven't already watched them. And there's lots of clips going around from the two interviews, but those are the two main interviews that he seems to have done to promote the album. If anybody knows of any other interviews, when I searched for interviews besides those two, really all I was finding was reviews of the interviews. Oh my goodness, the radio jockeys who didn't get to interview him, they all ripped him a new one. Like, one guy who I later found is supposed to work for the same, like, Apple Music as well. He was just ripping Kanye a new one, some radio show in New York. Not Charlemagne. I found a video with Charlemagne talking about him. He wasn't too hard on Kanye. But some other show, Hot 97 show, oh my gosh. They were, like, ticked off that they didn't get to interview him. They just absolutely were ripping on Kanye left and right. But one thing I'm glad to see is in the comments, people seem like they're still supporting Kanye. It seems like it's only these, like, hip-hop elites from these radio stations who are giving him attitude. So yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. If you're new to the channel, maybe check out some of my other videos, maybe subscribe. Thanks for stopping by my channel. I'll see you all next time.
People need to be awake, and they need to be aware. They need to stand up against the sun. People need to be awake. People need to be awake, and they need to be aware. They need to stand up against this stuff.
And it's so politically engaged. And it's so politically engaged.